Multimedia Games.
Hello there, personnel. This is Multimedia Neon, or Neon All 4. So, I wanted to do a little devlog regarding my upcoming horror game VHS Aniphobia, but I didn't have time to do much, so this is only a voice-only video. So, to preface this, VHS Aniphobia is my own take on Aniphobia as a potential sequel, and more so because of problems that arose between me and the developers and the whole entire community at large. So for brief context, VHS Aniphobia was initially a separate project that I ended up having to shelve to work on Demo 2, which I later on canceled due to constraints. However, some years later I was blacklisted and banned from Aniphobia itself, which inspired me to pretty much create my own Aniphobia as a response. And because I can't play the game anymore, I had to get creative and use what was already made and make my own systems and ideas based on the original concept. Things like a unique version of every gun kit that was heavily modifiable, to more detailed weapons and whatnot. But I had to stray away from the fast-paced gameplay since, for me, Aniphobia didn't feel like a game that should be fast-paced. I mostly just saw it as Cry Fear, except it was open world and it was terrifying on its own. So for me, the concept started to reshape itself for me. So, since I had the base and idea for what I wanted to create, I started to envision a few ideas for a project, such as de-emphasized combat, slow pace, and being extremely terrifying. I had this idea to also make it a found footage game in which the player's point of view is that of a camera attached to them, and a camera is the only thing you can see out of. So that meant the game was strictly first person focused with no way to go into third person. You could, however, see your own body if you look down, and it kind of gave the game this slightly off-kilter feeling since you know that we were watching lost footage. So with the concept of that done, it started to be pretty simple for me from here on out. So, in both my version of Aniphobia and the original Aniphobia, the latter game mostly had a fairer version of the ammo system in which any gun, as long as they're in the correct class, could restore all of its reserve ammo in one fell swoop. But for a game like VHS Aniphobia, I wanted to do something different with the idea and made it so that ammo could be pretty scarce, with most ammunition boxes pretty much taking 2 minutes to regenerate after someone already took them, and even when you get ammo, you'll only have enough to make sure nothing could kill you easily as long as you knew what you were doing. And also, because every gun should have its correct caliber, not share literal generic ammunition names. I know that will just probably open up to more guns, but I wanted a more complicated version of that. So anyways, this made the guns that had to make the player load each round individually have a bit of an advantage, since you could just save your remaining cartridges or shells that were already loaded in beforehand and just keep shooting, since putting in 1 or 3 shells or cartridges in would still be enough to take a few enemies that were too close to you. Now, this part here is to now focus on the story of VHS Aniphobia. So VHS Aniphobia would take place in the modern day, aka right now, 2025, as of recording this, after the fall of the United States and Canada and then Mexico, after a nuclear explosion went off within the US itself. And the radiation that it brought along with it were the remains of the DNA of the creatures, or in this case, anime characters, which are already byproducts of radium and revival ages already in them. So the radiation spread quickly and took over Canada and Mexico over the span of less than a decade or so. And now pretty much the world is in a very disheveled state by itself without, Canada, United States, and Mexico. Don't worry, Joe. I'm sparing Australia. So, I had no idea at first on where to make the main game take place, but I eventually decided to settle dead on Texas, since my story started with the outbreak happening in Texas first back in 1989. God damn, poor fucks didn't even get their chances to fight back against them because they started taking it over. So anyways, since I had all of that done, I'm pretty much starting my early work on this concept. I may make this a full-fledged sword series on my channel soon, so if you're learning into how I got here, I guess I'll include that in the next video. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys when the time's right. Also, feel free to subscribe if you want to. I may not post about VHS and Aniphobia as much, but, you know, you do you. Alright, so, that's all for me, and I'll see you next time.